Good morning. This is the December 7th meeting of the Utah Board of Oil, Gas, and Mining. This is my first session as board chair, and I hope today is not another day that lives in infamy. We traditionally start these meetings with a briefing session from the Division of Oil, Gas, and Mining, and I believe Director Baza is not here, so I will turn the time over to the division.
Thank you, Chairman Borden and Board. John Baza is at a Western Governor's presentation speaking about mining and critical minerals right now. So he's in Phoenix and was unable to attend this morning. So Bart Kettle and I will be taking over this briefing session. We want to start off by introducing the new employees that we've hired over the last year or so. I have a slideshow here. The first one, actually, we hired in December of last year, just a little bit over a year ago, Karen Odendahl Madsen. She's an environmental scientist 3, and she's an inspector out of the Price Field Office. She has 9 years of industry experience in doing exactly what she's inspecting now, environmental compliance and permitting. She has high qualifications, and she was born and raised in Carbon County, and is happy to have a great job working in that community and working still in the mining industry. The next person is Kevin Ney. He joined our abandoned mineland program earlier this year. He's an environmental scientist 2 right now. He's a project manager and a biologist. He's got a great background in education and work. He worked in mitigation banking, which is a very interesting field. Sometime you should ask him about that. So the project that he presented to us when we hired him was really interesting. And he's from Gunnison, Utah, so another person who he was working out of state and wanted to move back to Utah, and we're glad to have him on board. We're very lucky to, by the way, I would like to say we're very lucky that we've found all these qualified people within the last year in a tough job market. They're all great, and they fit in well, and they're doing a great job, and the division is very happy to have them. The next person is, the next few people are new members of our minerals program. As some of you know, we had a little bit of a change up last year. Our program manager retired, and we installed Wayne Western as the new program manager. During that, one person retired. A couple people left the division to look for other opportunities, and so we ended up having to hire some new people in the minerals program, and again, we were extremely lucky in finding these people. The first one is P.J. Jensen. He's based out of the Price Field Office as well. That's our first minerals person that is not based in Salt Lake City. That really helps with him being able to cover those counties that are listed there. He grew up also in the Carbon area, and he has a lot of experience working for a coal operator, and also before that in building and drafting, design and engineering and permitting. He's brought a lot to the team. He's served as a Helper City Councilman, and he was the former board chairman of the board of directors for the Eastern Utah Tourism and History Association. And he's been married for 31 years to his high school sweetheart. So we're happy to have him. He's got some good experience and community interest. Chris Stallard is environmental scientist 3, minerals permit lead for the counties listed there. He has a BS in mining engineering from the University of Utah, and he has family in Switzerland, so he got an MS in engineering geology at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich. He worked for a couple of years for a contractor, went up to water rights about a year ago, and then we poached him, I guess. He wanted to do something involved with mining, and from what I've heard, he's enjoying it so far. And he's from Park City, and he enjoys video games, board games, and Warhammer models. Brian Reyna is another environmental scientist 3 in the minerals program. With those counties there, he has a BS in environmental geoscience, and he has 3.5 years of experience. A lot of that is out as a contractor at Kennecott. That's one reason we hired him. He was one of the few people that had permission to drive around Kennecott without someone telling him where to go and accompanying him. So that's a huge knowledge base that we had lost with the retirement of other people, and he brings that to the field besides his technical expertise. Our next minerals person is Tessie Birmingham. She's an archaeologist. This is the second archaeologist we've hired in the division. We did that because Seth Button, who is our other archaeologist in the AMR program, was helping minerals a lot. So we decided to advertise for this expertise, and we were very lucky to get Tessie. She has a great educational background and really good work experience. She's done some project management and things like that. She's born and raised in Sandy. She's new to mining, but her grandpa was a copper miner, and she likes video games, painting, knitting, crochet, and cute animals. So if you see Tessie, show her a picture of your dog, and she'll be happy. And then we have, and I hope I pronounce this right, Kahelelani Moli. She goes by Lonnie, so don't be intimidated by her name. Hopefully I pronounce it correctly. She is the admin person in the minerals program, so everything goes through her. She's putting all the information in the database on tasks and things like that. She has an associate's degree from Salt Lake Community College and is currently pursuing more education at the University of Utah. And she likes sports, outdoor activities, spending time with family and friends, and nonfiction books, and Kauai and Utah are her background. So she's also been a great get for the minerals program. The next few people are admin people. Matt Morgan, you've probably seen running around this morning helping to set up the board hearing. He's an audio-visual specialist with 25 plus years of experience in photography, video editing, and marketing. He attended the Brooks Institute of Photography in Santa Barbara. He's an avid cyclist and runner, and he will be helping Paul with all of the AV issues with the division, as well as being a videographer. We'd like to do more videos where we show really well what we're doing in the field. We do a lot of interesting and exciting work that sometimes isn't accessible for taking a board or a legislature on a field trip, and we'd like to get more of those types of things on video, and he has that background and experience. Michael Tallis is our new upfront receptionist. Now we have someone there. You don't walk in and wonder what happened with the division. There's someone sitting at this desk and very pleasantly greeting people. She's an office specialist. She's born in Salt Lake City. She does a lot of volunteer work for the homeless shelter and other charities. She has a bachelor's in business business management and a minor in psychology from SLCC and University of Phoenix. She's an Aries and loves long walks on the beach. And the last one that I will be talking about is Aaron Brown. He is our new GIS analyst. He had 12 years of corrosion tech oil and gas experience after getting his BS degree in agronomy, and he just finished his MS at the University of Utah. He specifically wanted to do something more interesting in the oil and gas industry that had to do with mapping, so we were lucky to grab him right at the right time. He's from Missouri. He loves the St. Louis Blues, enjoys rafting and climbing, and has a cute dog as well. So that's everyone that I'll turn over to Bart here.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the next one, I'm going to introduce the oil and gas staff, the first one being Eden Hartung. Eden is an environmental scientist with us out of the Vernal Regional Office. She comes to us by way of Michigan and calls Utah her home in the Unibasin now. As you can see, she has quite a bit of formal education in environmental subjects. Spent some time as a wildland firefighter. Also came to us from the Division of Water Rights, and Eden has already brought a sense of organization and kind of can-do attitude to us that we really appreciate. She enjoys basically all of the outdoor activities that are what I would call action sports, and that reflects in her persona. So moving on to the next one, Adam Miller, come to us by way of Illinois. He's been in the Uinta Basin for some 22 years now. He's got a pretty extensive background in wireline, in the industry, and then also production. Adam is kind of the quiet person that observes what's going on and gives you those kind of calm comments that help you get through what you need to in the moment. And Adam loves anything that is outdoors, particularly hiking, hunting, and fishing. And Eden and Adam both joined us this summer in July and August. The next person is actually not new to our division in the last year, but they're in a new position, and that being Orland Wallace, a longtime resident of the Uinta Basin. Orland spent some 25 years in the industry before joining us in 2018, and then this October he accepted the position as a permit manager. Orland's got a can-do attitude, and he's doing the best he can to keep up with the permitting duties he's facing right now. And Orland also enjoys kind of the outdoor activities, specifically kind of hunting, fishing, riding, and then of course football. The next person is also a member of our permitting group, working with Orland. Corey Miller is a longtime Uinta Basin resident as well. He's also out of the Vernal Regional Office. Corey had a background. I actually worked with Corey previously as a land surveyor, predominantly doing industry type things, and then 10 years experience with industry, kind of overseeing the permitting and environmental realms. Corey joined us this last April, and he's kind of the problem solver that finds a way to solve the things we're facing. And he also, there's kind of a common theme here. Most of our staff does enjoy outdoor activities, but Corey enjoys his time in the outdoors and is kind of an avid biker and really likes youth hockey. And if you see him, that will come across quickly. So moving on to the next one. Paul Luca just barely joined us in October. Paul's a project manager for us, and Paul comes to us by way of Romania, and he calls his home here in Utah now. He was 10 years as a project manager, a lot of that with Halliburton prior to joining the division. And we're really looking forward to the organization skills and kind of the pointed, get to the matter questions that Paul asks us. So hopefully you can take and invite all of these people or talk to them when you see them. But as we were preparing for today, we realized that we missed 3 people that do quite a bit of work for the division that are not on this slide. 2 of them you're pretty familiar with. So one being Liz Harris, sitting right to the left of us right now. Another being Trevor Grunwell, trying to hide in the back of the room. But I know that the board is acquainted with these 2 individuals already. Perhaps one that you maybe haven't met that also assists Trevor and Liz in their day-to-day activities would be Melissa Reynolds. I understand Melissa is hiding in the back, watching on YouTube right now, but if you get a chance, maybe get introduced to Melissa. She's a paralegal that helps them with all the details behind the scenes. And then kind of as we start to close this up, what I would like to kind of point out to the board, in the past, kind of in groups, I've just added up experience and divided by the group. And it's kind of interesting. Year in, year out, we average right around 15 years of experience before staff come to the division. You know, sometimes it might be 12 or 13, sometimes it's 18, but this group kind of reflects that. We're pretty close to that 15 years of experience. And I think that's really important because, you know, you as board members, I think, understand this. The work that's done by the division is sometimes pretty technical in nature. And people come to us a lot of times with a lot of experience before they start with the division, and then they use that experience to kind of help them understand the rules and the regulations and how to best make decisions going forward. It's, of course, a learning experience to switch into the regulatory realm, but they're doing a really good job. I see them working super hard, trying to get on pace with it. And I think it's worth taking just a moment to maybe give a shout out to all the existing division staff. I've observed this on Dana's group and my own, where they're essentially taking on additional work to help get these new people off to a good start and giving them all the time that they possibly can to train them and get up to speed, sometimes at their own detriment, sometimes causing themselves more problems. So I'd just like to give a shout out to the existing staff for helping our new people get off to a good start. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Yes, and I'd like to also give that shout out to existing staff. We have great people. That is our strength in the division, and I hope that people recognize that their experience and their hard work and their personalities are really exceptional, and they make it a great place to work. So the second thing on our agenda this morning.
I'd like to just say,
Sorry.
welcome to all the new employees. I'm very impressed with the high quality and experience of the very brief resumes you just flashed up on the screen. So looking forward to working with everybody in the future. Thanks.
Thank you. The second thing on the agenda is a review of the COLE program. I have to put my reading glasses back on here. So I always tell my program managers that I want them to have the opportunity to give these presentations, but I will do it if they don't want to. And for the first time ever, Steve Christensen took me up on doing the actual presentation, but he put this together. So I put my reading glasses on because there's a lot of information in here that he wants to pass on that I may or may not know off the top of my head, and I don't want to miss anything. So this is just, we plan, by the way, board members, we plan to do an update over the next few months for each program in the division. We're just starting with COLE. Right now, we have 8 full-time employees, soon to be 9, 1 mining engineer, a soil scientist, 1 biologist, 2 hydrologists, 2 field inspectors, a COLE program manager, and administrative tech. The administrative tech is the one that we're looking to hire. Suzanne Steeb retired earlier this year, and we're finally getting around to hopefully getting someone. That's one position. It's been hard to, by the time you do interviews, people have found another job type thing, but we are very hopeful that we'll have someone great on board soon. This is a table from one of our year-end reports that we give to OSM. It's very busy and confusing, but the bottom line is we have 26 permitted sites, 16 are active operations, 7 are inactive or what we call temporary cessation, and 3 sites that are bond forfeiture sites that we still kind of babysit from year to year. The table has 27 sites, but we recently terminated jurisdiction finally on the White Oak mine, which was a bond forfeiture site in the early 2000s. We did reclamation there, a couple of different projects, and we finally feel like it's time to move on there. So we now have 26 inspectable units. Of the 16 active operations, 4 are longwall operations, 2 are room and pillar mines, 1 is an open pit mine, 3 are remining refuse material from previous underground mines in the Carbon-Emery area, 3 are processing plants and or loadouts, where frankly a lot of oil transloading is also taking place, and 1 is strictly a waste rock site, and the remainder are in the process of being reclaimed. The inactive status are the ones where nothing's happening. They're not reclaiming, they're not mining, it's temporary cessation. So that's kind of a rundown of what our permits are looking like right now. Here's another great table, but anyway, it's a breakdown of all the work that we did this year. So quickly, the technical review staff reviewed 61 amendments during the previous year. A lot of people think coal is dead and why do you even have a coal program? We've been busier than ever over the past few years. Those 61 amendments run the gamut in terms of scope and complexity and the amount of time involved to complete a review. They could be as simple as extending the length of a culvert, or as previous chairman Chris Hansen knows, they can be as complex as adding thousands of acres of new mining area. For example, the fossil rock cottonwood tract is something that we worked on during this year. During OSM's most recent evaluation of the coal program, it was calculated that the staff completed their permit reviews on time over 95% of the time. And given our in-house policy of establishing deadlines that are half of what is allowed by rule, that 95% is we're meeting that half of the rule time. And that's a great accomplishment. I really, the staff, like I said, we've been busier than ever, and they've really stepped up, even though it's a small staff. They've gotten things done and kept things going. In addition to technical reviews, we conduct inspections. We're required to do a certain number of inspections at each permit. So we have 2 dedicated inspectors, and over the year, we did 96 complete inspections. That's where you're supposed to check everything, and 160 partial inspections, which could be you look at one culvert, or you look at several things, whatever, but you're on site and looking at something that you think is important. This photo is of Karen Madsen, our newest coal employee. She joined a year ago this month, and again, we already heard about her. She has great previous experience, and she's been a great addition and is doing a great job. Looking to 2023, there are some positive indicators that bode well for Utah coal operators, and there's also some significant changes challenges that could persist into the new year. Starting off with the good news, the spot price of coal has gone up. It's been reported that a short ton of coal in the United States hadn't been above $100 since 2008. But now it's gone up, as you can see from this chart. There are many reasons for this. The situation in Ukraine is impacting international energy markets. In the United States, the economic rebound following the pandemic shutdown is creating a demand for more energy. More locally here in the Southwest, the persistent drought is reducing the amount of hydroelectric power that's currently generated. And then, oops. Well, if I can't see the next note, so sorry. Again, I did not make this presentation. I appreciate Steve for putting it together. But anyway, another positive note is the Dingle land swap that is supposed to be happening soon. The Dingle Act was named after former long-term Congressman John Dingle from Michigan. It was enacted in March of 2019. It established a land exchange between the federal government and the state of Utah. So what's happening is the Walker Flat and Williams Draw leases, which are very important to the Emery Deep and Lila Canyon mines respectively, will go from being managed by the federal government to being managed by SITLA. The huge impact of that is that they don't have to go through BLM leasing process. They don't have to go through the NEPA process. And when they come to permit with us at the state, they don't have to go and get a federal mine plan approval. They can just get approval from the state of Utah and move on. So even though these two mines could have started the leasing process with the BLM a couple of years ago, once the Dingle Act went through, they decided to wait until it becomes SITLA coal. Obviously, land swaps take time. They're hoping that to get that accomplished within the next 1.5 to 2 years. That will still give those mines will still be ahead of the game, going through a SITLA lease rather than a BLM lease. So that's something to look forward to. There are also some challenges. Litigation is something that you're all aware of. Coal mines in the West have been targeted for not doing, because they are need federal mine plan approval. They've been targeted for not doing NEPA adequately. The social cost of burning carbon is something that has been attacked as not being reviewed properly by the BLM. And so every time that we've had to do NEPA, we've had to do some updates with OSM on whatever the BLM has done, and that takes more time. This is a headline from 2021 from the Salt Lake Tribune talking about the NEPA being found inadequate for the Lila Canyon, or sorry, not Lila, the Coal Hollow mine, sorry, down in Kane County. We still don't know what the resolution to this challenge is. The court said the NEPA was inadequate. The BLM has not decided what that means or how to move forward yet. And it's been almost 2 years now, or almost a year, or 2 years, yeah, almost 2 years now, sorry. The Lila Canyon mine is also, sorry, one more thing that I would like to bring up with challenges. Any coal mine that is looking at federal coal, there are significant delays. And they're even worse now. And it's really a problem because the federal government is taking longer and longer to approve those. They're asking for things during the NEPA process that they haven't asked for in the past 40 years of SMACRA. And it's hard for mines to plan ahead for that type of thing. Also, a federal judge reinstated the coal leasing moratorium. We still don't know what that means either. Hopefully that does not impact anyone who was significantly underway with the leasing process. But again, the BLM has not really come out with any information on that yet. I just want to do an update on the Lila Canyon mine. I did an update in October, but just wanted to let you know what's going on now. The company is working around the clock to get those drill holes in place so that they can, they're trying to put some foam in underground, expanding foam that will block off the entry. They have 7 locations across 3 entries where they will put that foam into place. That's going well. The holes they were pretty close to completing those wells. They received the foam and they're going to begin injection next week. They had to wait for the specialist to oversee that to get here. They had hoped to start the process earlier, but anyway, they'll be starting that next week. The mine is still on fire. They still can't go underground. Sealing off that area with the foam will advance that. Hopefully that will allow them to get underground. But in the meantime, they're still trying to save their longwall equipment from the water that's building up in that area. They don't know exactly how high it is right now. They have some predictions, but they did have some difficulties drilling the well to reach that water. They weren't casing it at first, and they hit a fault that was generating water, and they lost the hole. So they've had to restart that hole, and they're casing it so that they won't have that situation happen again. They had good progress in that restarted hole, but there was a little bit setback there. But they're still fighting against the clock. If that water floods the longwall for too long of a period of time, they obviously longwall equipment is as waterproof as they can make it, but being submerged for a long period of time will not be good. So I just wanted to give an update on that, and that's all I had. So does anyone have any questions?
I have one question. I should probably know this, but is this all thermal coal, or is there any coking coal resources in Utah?
As far as I know, no one's using this as coking coal. We've heard that Lila's quality could possibly reach that, but I'm not aware of anyone using it for anything other than thermal.
Thanks. Any questions from the board? Yes, Mr. Church.
Relative to the staffing also, the presentation you made, where does the division stand as far as having all of their positions filled? Do you feel you're fully staffed now? Or?
Yeah, the coal program and minerals program, yes, if we can get that admin in place in the coal program in the next couple of weeks, we have someone identified. The AMR program, we're currently looking at, we just went through the interview process for one position. We have 2 great candidates, so we're hoping to fill that soon. And I'm not sure about oil and gas. I'll let Bart answer that.
Yeah, on the oil and gas side, we actually have several reference lists out right now that we're in the process of interviewing for, and another 4 that we're in the process of announcing. So we're going to add quite a few more people, assuming that we get some good applicants.
Thank you.
We do also need another GIS specialist, and we're working on that as well.
With Dave, how are you, Steve?
A few decades ago, is my experience level, no GIS.
Sierra?
Do you have for Utah projections in terms of what the state of Utah coal resources are? Doesn't need to include federal, because I know that they have their separate projections, but in terms of Utah, I know when I was at the Bureau of Land Management, we had projections from, we had coal resources to last another 30, 40, 50 years, something like that. But given the situation with the federal restrictions on permitting versus what Utah's contribution could be to the energy program.
The division's job is permitting, so we don't do that type of thing, but UGS, our sister agency here in this building, they put out a great report every year on this type of thing. I can point you to that and show you where to find that great information that they make available. But that is, they have more of a focus on research and things like that, so they are the resource for that.
No more questions, so please proceed.
Okay, moving on to other. First of all, we'd like to thank ex-Chairman Hansen for the work that he did as chairman on the board, and officially welcome new Chairman Borden officially on behalf of the division. We look forward to continuing to work with everyone on the board, and we feel like it's in very good hands, and we have a lot of faith in the things that you do for us, and hope to continue working well together. The second thing that is on other, Liz Harris is up here because she wants to talk to you about a change that we're looking to make in the minerals statute that will also, if we're successful, require a lot of rulemaking. Hopefully we can do it in one rulemaking process that will come before you, but she thought it would be good to get you involved and up to date on that.
Thank you. I do want to talk to you about this. This is my pet project for the year. As you probably are aware, this year there has been a lot of mining applications that have generated a lot of public outreach on, and people have been very interested in. And through the process of processing these permits and sending them through the system, it's become apparent that our statutes governing small mining permits, large mining permits, and the process that they go through for review is not as clear as we would hope. And so we are going to try and take a stab at clarifying the review requirements, the review process, the appeal process, and cleaning up a couple things while we're doing that. So I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And we will, of course, have a final draft at some point that we'll have for you to review. But a couple of the things that we hope to accomplish are, right now in the minerals statute, there is one section that talks about reviewing small mine permits, large mine permits, and exploration permits, and it's not entirely clear what part of the section refers to which of those permit applications. So we are going to try and split them all into their own separate section, so it is very clear when we're saying what a small mine needs to do to get approval versus what a large mine needs to get approval. A couple other things. Right now, the language is a little ambiguous. Sometimes we refer to it as a permit. Sometimes we refer to these things as NOIs. We're just going to clarify that they're applying for a permit, and that a mining permit is being issued, not an NOI or something like that. We are on the large mining permits. We're going to try and move the public comment period to the beginning of the review process. So after the division receives a complete application, it goes out for public comment at that time, but before they do the entire review and reach a tentative decision. That will hopefully save resources and get relevant information in front of the division at the beginning of the process so it can be considered versus the end. And that hopefully will streamline the application process a little more. We want to, a funny little quirk right now in the mineral statute on the large mining permits is that technically the division is not allowed to do anything but approve it. If they would like to deny the application, they only can issue a tentative denial or an intent to deny, and the appeal process would come from the tentative denial. Speaking to everybody, that didn't seem to make much sense, so we're going to change that. So the division will either issue an approval or a denial, and if it is a denial, of course, the applicant can then appeal that denial to the board, rather than it being kind of wishy-washy with a tentative. And then maybe the last thing is just clarifying the appeal rights for both the applicant of the permits, the public that might be providing comment, and anyone who wants to intervene or challenge the permit approval. Right now, that's a very muddy process in the statute and the rules, and so we're hoping to clarify that and I want to emphasize, it's not taking away any rights that anybody has currently. It's just making it clear how exactly you follow that process through. So we're hoping to get that in front of the legislature this session in January. And if that's the case, there's going to be a lot of rulemaking that we'll have to do to bring the rules in compliance with these changes that we're making. So I'm sure this won't be the last you'll hear of it. But does anyone have any questions that I can answer?
A question and a comment. It's nice to hear this is happening because I think there is some ambiguity and confusion when you read different clauses. And I'm certainly a proponent of a small mine. Even a small mine can do significant harm if it's in the wrong location, wrong design. So I'm glad to see it's not just checking to make sure their application is complete and then saying yes. And there's actually a little more rigor to the process.
Oh, and I should have mentioned and forgot, we are working with the Utah Mining Association on this. We've met with them, discussed this language, so we're going to make sure that as much of industry is on board with these changes so we can get it through quickly as we can.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, back to you.
Okay, I have just a couple items here under other business. The first being that displayed right now is the Office of Energy Development's website, and I just wanted to highlight the Utah gasoline prices report that was recently posted on their website. This was a effort by multiple state agencies, the Division of Oil, Gas, and Mining being one of them. If you're looking for it, it can be found under the Information tab and then Publications, and of course it's on the just Utah gasoline prices. In the report essentially details how gasoline prices in Utah were historically under the national average, and recently the trend has been above, and it just discusses some of the dynamics that kind of create that price environment. The other thing that I'd like to mention is our January collaborative is going to be postponed until April. There's a conflict with the Uinta Basin Water Summit for that date, and with the general session being so early this year, it leaves us kind of limited dates that we could have that collaborative meeting. So what we're going to do is encourage participants to participate in the Water Summit. A lot of the same people would be at both events, and so we'll get out kind of a save the date for the April one coming shortly. And if I could, while I'm on the collaborative, I just want to give a couple of people kind of some due acknowledgement for the efforts that they put forward. Our July and our November collaboratives were actually some of the most heavily attended. We had around 140 people at those collaboratives there in Duchesne, and Natasha Baloff, John Rogers, and Gene Sweet are the people that kind of quietly behind the scenes organize stuff and keep that going. And then also our partners from the Duchesne County Event Center, the Centennial Event Center, they're critical in that, as well as the Duchesne County Commissioners. So they make that possible. And with that, that's it for me.
We usually go over next month's calendar and the next month's agenda, but I guess if there's no questions, the division is done with our briefing session.
Any last questions from the board? Seeing none, this is the time where we traditionally have an opportunity for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment on anything pertinent to the division or the board's operation? Seeing none, that ends the briefing session, and we'll reconvene at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock for the board hearing. Thank you.